Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel today. It is a beautiful day here in Missouri and I thought that it was time that I did a video. It's been a while since I've come on here and did a video. I guess I've kind of been in a depressed kind of mood this time of year. I enjoy, but it does have a tendency to bring me down, especially the month of November, and this is the beginning of the start of November. I have a lot of bad memories. Those of you who've been on my channel for a while know what some of those are, but this month holds several days that are kind of very depressing for me. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. Today, I want to do a little, kind of a little baby boomers thing and talk to you about some things that were popular in the baby boomers. First, I do want to tell you, I want to mention this for those of you who might want to know. I found out why the lady at the food bank was giving away the eggs. They were bad. Now, I know that seems like a really sick thing to do, but I didn't find it out until I started cracking. I had a few of my own eggs left, and I was using those up first. But the ones that she gave to me were old. Some of them I cracked and I had to throw them away. And some of them I found fertilized embryos. And that kind of made me sick. But yeah, that's the reason she was donating them. They were old eggs. She probably has a bunch of chickens and she wasn't able to use them all up herself. Maybe she couldn't sell them. I don't know why. With the price of eggs like they are, she wouldn't be able to. But I'm not saying all of them that she gave me were rotten, old, or whatever. I was able to use a few of them. But before I use these eggs, I crack them in a separate bowl. I look at them and I smell them. And there have been a few that I've had to pitch in the trash. So what I'm going to do, if I go back, her day to pick up food is on the same day as mine. Maybe not at the same time, but the same day. So when I go back, if she's there and she asks me, I'm just going to tell her I already have enough eggs at the house. Thank you. And just not take any more of them. Okay, now that I've got that out of the way, I want to tell you what my video is about today. This video is going to be about some of my favorite TV shows that I watched during the baby boomer time. See how many of these you remember. The first one that I want to talk about is a show that was called Kids Say the Darndest Thing. And Art Linkletter was the host of that show. And he would just basically interview little kids, ask them just basic, simple questions. And it was funny, some of their answers, because kids, they can be brutally honest. And I'm sure some of their parents were sitting out in the audience mortified at the answers and the stuff that they told Art Linkletter. And I know they can't bring that show back with him. And it just seems like anybody else that they bring it back with wouldn't do it justice. But I really enjoyed the old show of Kids Say the Darndest Things. And the next one is a show called Candid Camera. This is where they hid cameras out in public places and caught people doing crazy stuff. Or they did crazy stuff to people. Or they talked to people and asked them questions that didn't make any sense. And they filmed their reactions. It was really interesting to see human nature. The next one is Twilight Zone. This came on, I think, Friday night when I was a kid growing up. And I couldn't wait to get home from school, finish my homework, take my bath, get in my pajamas, and be ready to watch that show. I love Twilight Zone. I, to this day, like to watch Twilight Zone. And I still do watch episodes of it. I actually have some DVDs of Twilight Zone, old Twilight Zone. Now, they did remake it. I don't care for the remake one. I want the original old black and white Twilight Zone. It was really, really a good show. Now, this next one is kind of a spinoff of Twilight Zone. It was called Outer Limits. And it was basically the same thing. Programs about weird things. Most of them were projected into the future. And they were filmed in the 60s, so you can imagine what their ideal of the future if they could film in the 60s and see what we're actually doing today, they would consider that an outer limit show. And it's what we do normally on a regular basis. I'm sure a lot of you will remember this next one, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I watched this every day after school. I think it came on during the week. It might have been just a weekend show. But I still remember all the songs that he used to sing and the lessons that he used to teach, because that's what this show was all about, teaching you as a child how to deal with problems in your life and how to be happy and how to adjust and to live. And the next one is kind of a spin along that same. It was called Captain Kangaroo. And I do remember that this one came on Saturday mornings with Captain Kangaroo and Mr. Green Jeans, and there was farm animals. It was based on a farm. It was really a wonderful kids show. Then we have the ever-loving Bozo the Clown. Who doesn't love a clown? I know a lot of people are scared of them. I always enjoyed watching clown shows, and I loved Bozo with his red flaming hair and his games he would go at. And it was usually done in front of a live studio audience of children, and they would play games and contests with these kids, and I think they gave them prizes. Then we have Eddie's Father. Now, Eddie's Father was about a widowed man. His wife had passed away, and he was raising his young son all by himself. And that's basically what the show was about, was what he went through every week. It came on once a week. Things that happened between him and his son, problems they had now, they worked them out. And this next one is very similar to that. It's called Bachelor Father. And it's about this swinging bachelor who went out on hot dates and drank and smoke and just really had a good time being a bachelor. And his family died, the whole family, except the kids. And I guess it was the mother and father that died. And they had in his will that he was to become the guardian of these kids. And so all of a sudden his life is changed because he's got these kids that he has to raise. I forget exactly how many. I know there was a teenage daughter. I think there was 3 kids altogether, but I'm not for certain. It's been a while since I got to see that show. Then we have, along the same lines, Family Affair, which was an uncle who was also the same thing, uncle who was raising his brother and sister who passed away. He was raising and taking care of their kids. And I do remember in this one, there were 3 kids, 2 girls and a boy. There was a set of twins that was a boy and a girl twins, and then an older teenage daughter that he was responsible for taking care of. And he was rich, lived in a penthouse. He had a butler. It was a very fun and interesting show to watch. Then we have the good old classic Gilligans Island. I love this show. I even still love this show to this day. I actually have it on DVD. I pull it out every once in a while and watch it. It was funny to me because people were always arriving on that island, yet they could never figure out how to get away. People would come there and they'd have their adventure and do whatever, and then they would leave. But yet the islanders that were stranded on that island could never figure out how to get off. And I just really loved it. It was classic Gilligan's Island. Next we have a very popular one, and this one is still in reruns today. It's called Beverly Hillbillies. Those of you who are my age remember Beverly Hillbillies and the fun things they did. They lived in a really big, fancy, nice mansion, yet they still conformed to their old-fashioned ways. Granny had a still out by the cement pond, which was a swimming pool. She made soap. I think they took their baths in the swimming pool, even though they probably had 10 bathrooms in the house. And Granny cooked possums and owl grits and stuff like that, just like she did back up in the hills before they become millionaires. Then we have a show that I enjoyed as a young teenage girl. It's called Mary Tyler Moore. It was about a single woman who moved, I think she moved to New York City. to begin her career, and she worked in a news office. She had an apartment, which was a bachelorette apartment. It had a bathroom, and then the living room and the kitchen was combined, and she slept on a pull-out couch. And it was just about her and her girlfriends and their lifestyle, shopping and dating, and the foods they ate, and her job and what she did. It was really interesting. And I think that it's still in reruns, too. I think you can catch it on some of the old TV shows. Then we have a very, very most favorite one of mine, Mr. Ed. And I loved Mr. Ed because as a young girl growing up, I loved horses. I always wanted a horse. I was always asking my daddy to buy me a horse for Christmas, buy me a horse for my birthday. And Mr. Ed was a man he lived in the city, but it was zoned for horses, and he had this Palomino horse named Mr. Ed. And the deal was Mr. Ed could talk, but he would only talk to Wilbur. That was his master. Nobody else got to hear him talk, but he would talk to Wilbur, give him advice. When Wilbur was having a bad day, he would go out to the barn and he would sit and talk to Mr. Ed, tell him all about it. Mr. Ed would give him advice. Really good kids show. And then the last one I want to talk to you about, this one is also in reruns. It's called Little Rascals. And it was just a gang of kids, young kids, and their antics, things they did in school, things they did at play, games they played. It was a black and white show, and I really, really loved watching the Little Rascals. So there you have it. That is a list of some of my favorite old TV shows. Some of them black and white, most of them black and white because they were in the 50s and 60s. A few of them in color. How many do you remember watching, and what, if you did watch any of these, which were your favorite? And if there's some that I haven't listed on here that you enjoyed, will you put them down in the comments? Let me know what you think. So that's going to be it for today's video. I want to thank you guys so very much for coming and viewing this video with us. Remember, y'all, your life is very short, so make it the very best life you can. And y'all come back and see us now any old time. Bye for this one.